I think, I've watched some of your videos. I've watched, the whole premise of my show is more to consider. I'm an attorney. I wrote a master's thesis on the Kennedy assassination, so I talk about that a lot. As you can tell, I'm a big football fan. I'm a college baseball coach, played in college, so I talk a lot of baseball. So I'll
Okay.
have friends come on and talk baseball, history, mechanics. So I do a lot of that. And Laura said, like, hey, got a flat earth guy, you want to do it? And I'm like, I don't care.
Let's do
Like,
it. And
yeah, yeah.
we'll tie it back to baseball because I got to think about Yankee Stadium. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Well, again, I'm not here really to argue with you about it
We're here to have a
because
discussion. No problem.
yeah, yeah,
No
yeah.
problem.
But what I do want to do, I'll be honest with you, what I do want to do is kind of ask the why. Like,
Yeah.
I think what I've gathered from some of what you say, governments control how the education system is. I get it. So I want to kind of know, well, why would they do that? What's the point?
It makes a lot more sense though to let's look at some of the evidences first and then get to the why.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, no matter how much of the evidence I've watched your evidence, I'm not
Okay.
convinced. And I don't think
Okay.
I will be
All
convinced. And,
right.
you can try to convince the audience all you want.
All right.
But I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at. Welcome to another edition of More to Consider. Today, I have a gentleman on who refers to himself as Flat Earth Dave. So Dave has views on the shape of the Earth. And of course, this has been going on for, several hundred years. The question of the Earth, the atmosphere, the whole galaxy, how is the whole thing really constructed? And we're going to talk about today his views on that. And potentially, what does it all mean and why does it matter? Welcome, Dave.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the discussion between two grown men.
Okay. So, Dave, growing up, I know there's probably a lot of things in history that are considered basically fables, things that have been repeated over and over. And I think as a kid, I used to hear that the Columbus proved that the earth was round, and that he had thought that, as many generations to that point had thought, that you could navigate to what we would call the West, leaving Europe and going towards the New World. And as they moved in that general direction, they'd fall off the edge of the earth. Or India would be on the other side. They didn't know anything about the Americas, et cetera, et cetera. So through the years, I've kind of basically heard, nah. Even Columbus knew already that they could go around the world, in the naval craft of the time. They could make it around the world, that the world was round. They already knew that. So I've heard all of, and certain philosophers were executed or told that if they said the earth was round, that they would die. And then I've heard that's all myth. So I don't know. You hear different things growing up, but you have to have a journey. So I'll ask you that first. I don't know your age. I'm not asking that, but you have a journey you grew up in the United States, I assume.
Yep.
Right. So are you publicly educated? Public
Absolutely.
school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to college, got a degree, went into.
Well, I was going to start. Yeah. Right. But I'm saying I went to public schools. I mean, a lot of my friends that I think were the best educated went to private schools, generally Catholic schools. Seem like the best educated people I know were educated in the system of the Catholic schools. So there's different models for education, as we know. And it has slipped more and more into a general public education, and this whole idea of a Department of Education, the federal government having, certainly not constitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that would grant them authority to pull and add funds to the state schools. State schools can write their own constitutions, or states can write their own constitutions and say that they think that's a public good. But we have pretty much a great public education capture in our country. It has been for generations. So there's a question of what do we know, how do we know it, and how much of it is, structured by the government. But you go through that, you go to college, you major in what degree did you get, or major?
I got a marketing and psychology.
Okay. All right. And from that, where are you with your beliefs, your thoughts, or whatever as it relates to the shape of the earth as you grow up?
Well, I used to believe that the earth was a globe. I took 4 years of astronomy because it was really fun and I was really good at it. And and I was really good at memorizing and regurgitating the stuff in the textbooks. But then when I actually went out to measure the Earth and looked at the claims that were made, I didn't want to do it. When I first heard about it, I wouldn't even pay any attention, and I refused to watch a 1 minute video. But then I went out and I bought some equipment and I zoomed in on things that I shouldn't be able to see. But when you say our history tells us that Washington, Columbus proved that the Earth is round by sailing around it. Do you know that when Lewis and Clark crossed the Mississippi to find trade path to the west, that Chicago and San Francisco were fully built out? This is the Washington Memorial, fully built back when there was nothing else here.
Wait a minute. You're saying that structure is the Washington Memorial?
Yep, in Washington, D.C.
Okay, I know of a Washington Monument. And
this is the Washington Memorial in Washington, D.C. So again,
what is the Washington Memorial?
Well, this is the one that has big. It's one of the big buildings right in Washington. I think it's called the Washington Memorial.
There's a Lincoln Memorial.
I'm sorry, the Lincoln Memorial. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
All right. But let me just ask you about that. When are you saying that this structure? You're saying that they discovered this with Lewis and Clark?
No. When Lewis and Clark went across, the San Francisco was fully built out. I don't have all the pictures and stuff for that. I have a whole section on my app that you can look into that. That's a whole nother discussion. We're talking about the only proofs that globe believers have are ancient stories, stories 2,000 years ago. Eratosthenes figured it out, Columbus, right? All of those, in my opinion, and there's plenty of evidence to show so, are lies. They're all lies, right? All of history is a lie. And then they also like looking up at the lights in the sky, which literally defy natural law. Right, natural law says.
Let me get back though, because you're offering what you want to offer, and I get it. Hey,
I'll answer your questions, no problem.
But you're showing me a picture,
yeah,
and you refer to it as a Washington Monument. I'm sorry, Washington Memorial, and then you conceded, okay, maybe it's Lincoln.
No, I forgot the name.
When is this photograph taken?
This was in the 1800s.
Can you give me a time in the 1800s?
I don't have all. Here's the thing. This is not my expertise. I got this from.
Well, the reason I ask is Lincoln lived from 1809 to 1865
in a log cabin, supposedly.
I don't give a shit if it's a log cabin or not. What I'm saying is, we know that he's assassinated in 1865. I don't think there's much dispute about that. Born in 1809, wherever he's born in 1809. I wouldn't have thought that there would have been a Lincoln Memorial constructed in Washington, D.C. in, say, 1833. He's nobody yet. I don't know. But if you're saying they built something else and then they named it after Lincoln after the death, and I could look up exactly when it was constructed, but I got to believe it was constructed sometime post his death.
No. So
you're saying it was constructed as a memorial to Lincoln before he died?
I'm willing to have a conversation.
No, I'm just.
You just got to let me answer questions when it's my turn to talk.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of our history, all of the stories of the buildings in this world they're all made up. Like most of these castles, these massive buildings were built pre-power tool, rubber tires, pre-trucks, pre-anything, horse and buggies, and they were built in 1 year, and we couldn't build them in 10 years. Yankee Stadium, you're a sports fan, was supposedly built, I think, in less than a year.
I think that's right. Yeah. 1923, I believe.
So if we asked AI, we said, okay, looking at Yankee Stadium with all the construction materials, if all of them were available and they were just 10 miles away, and price was no option, how long would it take and how many horse rides would it take to get there? And they said if you had 500 horses, it would take 7 years just to get the materials there. Okay.
Well, why in 1923 would you be using horses for the construction?
Well, what else are you going to use? That's not when it was built. It was built before that.
No, well, I mean, the Yankees played in the Polo Grounds until they played in Yankee Stadium. They got kicked out of the Polo Grounds.
Again, that building. The complete and total story behind it is a lie, along with all of the other buildings that are right in every city, everywhere in the world. When we
all right, well, let me just ask this because I'm pretty heavy into baseball.
Yeah,
and okay, I understand the history of the New York Yankees franchise in that they played in New York in the Polo Grounds with John McGraw's New York Giants. And as they became more successful after obtaining Babe Ruth, they began to be a little bit miffed with the Giants. Like, you got a team that's actually drawing better crowds than we are. We don't want you here anymore. So the story goes, the Yankees built their own stadium. The house that Ruth built. Okay. But are you saying that the history of Ruth coming up with the Red Sox and then being purchased by the Yankees isn't true?
I don't know any of that, actually.
Well,
I don't know any of that. But when we look all around the world, there's buildings like this before they had motorized.
Now you're going to another time. But what I'm asking is, you're saying that the Yankee Stadium build doesn't make sense to you, given
it's an old world building. Yes.
All right, it's an old world building that the Yankees, what you're saying, did not build in 1923.
No, they might have remodeled it.
Okay.
So all of these stories of these buildings that were founded, and they show construction photos, but none of the construction photos, they show anything. They just show painting and remodeling the outside, but they're all founded. Founded isn't builded. Founded is found. Building is building, right? All of these things were founded. Freemasonry. These Freemasons are going around the world and claiming all of these buildings from the pre-reset world that was here before us, right? But that's a whole nother topic, right?
But what does that have to do with the shape of the earth?
Well, it has to do with the lie of all of our history that this world is much bigger than they tell us, and much old and not much older, but much different than they tell us. So again, if we can,
all right, but just to close the loop on this, what you're telling me is, I see even some early film of Babe Ruth in action, see many photographs. I see this guy supposedly born in 1895 in Baltimore. There's this Ruth guy. So I see all these records and I see all these photographs.
Real deal. Absolutely.
All right. So he's real.
As far as I know, I mean, I never met him. Right. Did you?
I did not meet him. He died in 1948. I was not around yet. But again, this gets into one of these things about perception, reality, and all that. I'm assuming, but again, I mean, now Jimmy Reese was a coach with the Angels. It was very close to Nolan Ryan, who coached him until he was like 90 with the Angels organization. And one of the key things about him and his history was he played with Babe Ruth. I've seen interviews with people that played with Babe Ruth that were contemporary to my life. They knew Babe Ruth or they played with Babe Ruth. So either they're lying, the film footage is live. But what I'm saying is, you're telling me that Yankee Stadium, the one the Yankees began to play in 1923, was some type of an old structure they just kind of slipped into, remodeled, whatever. They were in the need of a stadium because the Giants kicked them out. So I would ask, do you think in the 22 season that Ruth was actually playing in the Polo Grounds? Do you think the Polo Grounds
was there?
Don't know. Okay.
I didn't follow any of that.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, why did you just move into this old world structure prior to that, before they had to be kicked out of the Polo Grounds?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
So getting back to, you were talking about Christopher Columbus knowing he can sail around the world. This is Amelia Earhart's path. She went around the world like this. Now, this would be east. If the North Pole is at the center, we have a magnet here, and you had a compass. East would be a circle this way. West would be a circle this way. Whether the Earth is flat or round, east and west are circles. Are you aware of that? Let me show you. Let me show you.
Well, I understand that if the world is a globe
or flat.
Okay. If the world is a globe and we start at some point, and the way the longitude and latitude have been laid out, then yes, if you're at a particular latitude and you start working across the line around the Earth, then yes, you'd be moving either east or west. And
I'm going west right here around the Earth, so I'll come right back to where I started from. That's interesting. It doesn't prove the Earth is flat or a globe, because it's the same on both, at least in the north, right? And then I could do the same thing if I start here and I go west. West is a circle. Look, the needle always points towards the center. So I'm literally maintaining a compass heading of 90 degrees east. And it brings me right back to where I went. The problem is with a flat Earth is, if I dead reckon So there's west. And if I don't start turning, immediately I'm heading south because south is every direction away from the center, right? And so no matter what way you dead reckon, you'll end up to the edge of our world, which is Antarctica, right? And so that is south. Here's the problem. If you go south on a flat earth, on a globe, you just pop up on the other side. No problem. You just cross Antarctica and come around. You go from Santiago and you pop up in Australia. You go this way, you pop up over here. But nobody has ever done it. Billions have done it east and west. Zero have done it south. Now, it's just a little weird.
I don't know what that proves, but okay.
Well, it doesn't prove the earth is flat. But if the earth was a globe, don't you think somebody would have circumnavigated it south?
Well, I think the fact that on the two poles it's extremely cold and ice and all the rest would make it difficult for navigation in some type of
we can go to outer space and everything. We can fly at 40,000 feet. We can't fly over South America. And also, why would it be so cold in December if the sun never sets in Antarctica? The sun's always up. How could it be that cold?
Well, I think that would depend on the season. Right,
well,
right.
I think in December.
Well, there's also the angle. The Earth, according to the round Earth, is sitting at a 23-degree tilt. So if it's at a 23-degree tilt, there's going to be at the equator a greater concentration of sunlight than towards the poles in any of the seasons. But if we have North America and it's in summer, it's going to be at the time it's tilted closest. As it moves to the other side of the sun, it's still going to be in the same kind of a tilt, but it's going to be getting the lesser degrees.
So in your heliocentric hypothesis, the sun is 93 million miles away. So the rays come in straight, and the center of the earth that's most pointed, not tilted away like this part or this part, gets the most amount of heat. The question is, why does the heat path follow the equator when it's tilted? The heat path should go this way.
Right? I don't know that it does. You've got a picture that's showing that. But
this is from the Weather Channel. This is how they show it. This is if the Earth wasn't tilted, that would make sense. But if we look at it on a flat Earth, the sun migrates in between these two tropics from the yellow line to the red line. The orange line's the equator. So it goes out and in, 6 months out, 6 months in, and it goes around. And here's the heat pattern. That makes perfect sense. Wrap that around a ball, and you have this. And so the seasons actually, if you really look into it, prove flat Earth. Here's a question for you. I got so in December, you got the sun here, you got the Earth here. So if you were right here on the Earth, it would be midnight, and you'd be looking out at the stars. If you're looking straight up, you're over here on the equator. You're looking out and at the stars over there. Correct?
If you're saying that, and I would believe or agree that the sun's light would cover one half of the earth. So one half would be in darkness at night, and one half would be, and on the edges, it would be varying shades of dawn and dusk and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if the earth is a globe and the only source is the sun, it would be half.
Only source of sunlight? Yes.
Only source of light. So always, no matter how it's tilted or spinning, half of the earth would be lit with a little fuzzy part, a little light part.
Right.
Okay. But what I'm saying is when you're here, you're looking at the stars that are over there. Okay. So in December, 6 months later, the sun is all the way over here. I mean, the earth is all the way over here, and midnight is no longer that way. Midnight is that way, but we can see the same stars. Can you explain that?
Because I don't know that that's true.
It is true. It absolutely is.
Okay, and I've heard people argue with it's not true, so I don't know.
Some of the stars that are up earlier in the day due to the daylight time, you can't see some of them, but there's many of the stars, most of the stars you can see, right? But since you brought up day and night, let me show you this. So on this is the Gleason's map. This is the original flat Earth map, and this was from the Weather Channel, and they said on this day the Earth is 70% lit. That's weird. How can you do that with a globe, right? So I said, okay, let's make a little model. Let's see what we can do here. And so here's this is just from day and night. So on Tuesday, August 13th, when the sun was right here, so it's noon right here in this time zone, 70% of the world's world is in light. Now, a lot of people get it wrong because they said 99% of the population is in daylight at the same time. That's because nobody lives in these other places. But the only place really in the dark is Australia and these islands. But every other place, California, it's just sun's just coming up. But that's interesting. So if we actually look,
wait a minute, stop. Did you say 70% of the Earth's surface is in sunlight, or 70% of the people?
No, 99% of the people, but that doesn't matter. That's just population density.
Okay.
70% of the Earth is.
So wait a minute. So even in that, you're telling me that Australia represents less than 1% of the world's population?
I don't know. That's what they said. I don't know.
Okay. Whoever they are. Okay.
The,
all right.
The whole population thing. That's a whole other rabbit hole.
All right.
Right. So if we take the flat Earth map and we put the sun right there where it was, and I say, okay, if we lift the local sun up, can we make a similar lighting pattern? And we'll lift it up, and you can see that I can bring the light to everywhere except Australia and these islands. Kind of matches the lighting pattern.
Okay, and to you that proves the Earth is flat.
No.
Then what? Okay, all right. I'm not arguing with you on this. Okay, you've shown me a map.
I'm just showing you that I can match reality with a single source light. Okay. I can match reality with single source light. So now we're going to take a globe, which we have it tilted the proper way. And if you look right here is Australia. I'm going to put Australia right in the pink, right in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Got a sun across the room here. So we'll go around to the other side. And if we take a look, all of South America, all of America is in the dark, right? So let's try it the other way. We'll spin South America into the light, and we'll put California right at sunrise. So we'll just bring it out there. So here's California right here. Sun's just rising in California. And when we go back to the other side, all of Europe, all of Russia, it's all in the dark, right? This entire area here should be light. So we can't do it with your model, but we can do it with mine. Does that prove anything? No. Just proves that your model can't replicate reality. So far, mine has. Doesn't prove the Earth is flat. I'm with you.
Well, you're giving possessor, yours, mine. Here's the thing, dude.
Well, no. When I say, I don't mean that. I mean, you're on the globe side. I'm on the flat side. So I'm just saying the flat Earth math works. The globe does not.
Okay. All right. But I guess I still go back to the same thing. I'm looking at this like, again, when I'm doing the show, something to consider other people's views and all. I'm still trying to figure out really, in a sense, what difference it makes. There was a farmer born in America in 1801 that passed away in 1872, whatever, and he farmed the land and fathered some children and whatever. And he saw the sun come up, he saw the sun set, he saw the seasons change, whatever. And maybe he didn't get into these philosophical discussions, but if the Earth had been, I'm just asking the question, if the Earth had been flat or round, or it's a globe, what difference does that make? And when you're unearthing pictures of a Washington memorial, then it's a Lincoln memorial, and maybe it was on the Earth. I know, but it was on the Earth before Lincoln even lived.
Yeah.
When you're throwing all of this out there, and you've got to, and you've taken light sources that I don't know how well that would replicate. You got your little Earth tilted at 23 degrees. I got that, but I'm still asking the question of what difference does it make? What agenda are you pushing here? Are you just trying to say, hey, everybody, you don't get it, the Earth is flat, and therefore what?
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. What's your view on government and just your overall view? Is the government here for our well-being, or is there a lot of
To be honest with you, I'll tell you, I think might makes right. And that's just the fact that people have varying degrees of defending themselves, taking care of themselves, etc. I'm a big fan of Jefferson. I'm a big fan of Frederick Bastiat. I thought what Bastiat wrote about government was absolutely, he's writing against socialism in France, and he says, the law perverted. When government uses force to pad the pockets of the people in government, it's plunder. So in politics, he said, Bastiat, 1848, he's writing the same time as the Communist Manifesto, if there is plunder in government, Government is designed to take from the taxpayers and do whatever they want to pad their own pockets. This is how you get Congress people making 175 grand. And then, 20 years later, they're multimillionaires. You can't do the math. I would definitely go down that road. But I'm not done. Let me make this point, though.
No worries.
So Basquiat goes on to say, what is your greatest God-given right? And he was a Christian. What is your greatest God-given right? It's the right of self-defense. So all government can do that is legitimate is collectively protect your individual rights. I taught criminal justice. I'm an attorney. I used to tell my class, okay, what does that mean? You walk down the street, somebody hits you over the head and takes your wallet. What have they affected? They've affected your property and your person. So if there is any function of government that would be legitimate, it's for a prosecutor, a court system to punish the wrongdoer, make you as whole as possible, return your wallet, take care of your medicals, maybe or make the other guy pay your medicals. But that would be a legitimate form of government. Jefferson, in the Declaration, they write the Declaration to declare to the world why the United States has a right, a God-given right to break away from England. He's saying we don't just do this willy-nilly. We have to explain our reasons for doing so, which he lists through the Declaration of Independence. But the key thing is he says, and he's directly going from John Locke, life, liberty, and property, and says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I've read because Jefferson didn't want to say the government owed you property. It could only protect your right to pursuit of happiness. And that those rights would be, by a proper government, protected. You have the rights first, and government's only legitimate function is to protect those rights. If you're asking me, are we miles and miles, just, thousands of light years away from that now? Absolutely. No question. So I do think government is, by its very nature, collective force, and it can go in bad directions. I'm also a big fan of Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand was asked one time, what is the function of government? She said, protect your individual rights, life, and property from force and fraud from others. To me, that's all government. It's not to feed people, clothe people. If you're a free person, stroke checks, get together with like-minded individuals, save the world, feed the homeless, do whatever you want. But using government as a mechanism of force to take the production of someone else to fund other things that they choose to find as being important, I think it's organized theft. So there's my answer to that. There's the government.
There's an answer. So can I ask, do you believe in a creator? I don't need your whole religious thing.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. No problem. I didn't used to, but then I was proven that there was a creator. And that's one of the reasons why they hide the flat earth, because once you see that we didn't come from a big bang, because a big bang could be God created it, or just could have been a random big bang, like they explained, right. And then amoebas turned into fish that grew legs, found other sexy legged fish and turned into monkeys and turned into humans, right? Which is absolutely ridiculous. It weakens your creation, right? The heliocentric model puts you on a speck of dust flying through an infinite expanding universe. What's it expanding into? Wait, the universe is expanding at 1 billion miles a day or a minute or something stupid like that, right? And what's it expanding into, right? And so you're insignificant. If there is a God, it's diluted God, right? If you want to dilute something, pour it into something bigger like infinite space, right? And then when you live on Earth, you have limited resources. We're running out of fuel. We're overpopulated. Wars, just there's so many things where we get hit by an asteroid, nuclear bombs. All of that is to keep you in fear. That's how they control us, through fear, false evidence appearing real, FEAR. And they steer our minds with the news. North, east, west, south is news, right? So if they have you in a place of fear, here's the thing.
Well, let me ask you a quick question on that. When you say they,
yeah, I'll tell you.
Don't you think the theys also, if the whole globe thing is part of the they message, let's just take any legislator today, President of the United States, Congress, the House, Senate. Do you think any of them know that the Earth is really flat and they're perpetrating?
Plenty of them do, but not as many as you think. Very
okay.
It's like Obama knew and Bush's knew, and but others I don't know. So I'm trying to remember what my point was, where I was going. So all of these things keep you in fear, and that's how they control you. God created this world, gave us free will. Basically, there's natural law. Don't hit anyone on the head and steal their money. Don't break natural law. So if they have you in God's world, they can't make any laws or legislation that go against natural law. But if they have you in a fake world, a heliocentric ball, which is a satanic model, it's all figured out with 666s. It's absolutely nuts when you look into it. Then they've deluded you. And if you agree that you live on their ball field, you have to play by their ball field rules. And then they control you with their fake fiat money. And then you have to use their money. And so now you're completely under control. We are incredible, I believe, eternal spiritual beings having an experience in this soul system, not solar system, a system made for souls to have experiences and expand the mind of the creator. So we are incredibly powerful beings that all of that has been taken away. They've knocked down the old world buildings that I believe that amplified the Schumann resonance, and they've replaced it with a synthetic ether, which is all of these these towers that are going up and everything else. And they've literally taken our consciousness away and our spiritual connection. But when you put a globe on somebody, you literally disconnect them from everything because you're living in this fear-based satanic model. That's one of the reasons. And so if you live on the globe, they can make any rules they want for you. They can tell you to do anything you want. And if you live in fear, you're like, okay, yes, tell me what to do. Oh, you need 30% of my 40% of my income. Sure. Okay. I'll register my God-given right to travel and get a license and get all the other stuff. I'll do all of this stuff. Right. That they have you literally in control. Here's the beautiful thing.
All right, well, let me ask you this, Dave. I'm sorry, but let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
All right. Could you then here's my question. Could you be a person who is convinced the earth is a globe and yet share all the other views you have in that you believe that the government as it's ordered today is not at all what it should be? So the thing I went off on about Jefferson and Ayn Rand and Bastiat, I don't think you and I would probably disagree at all, probably about the function of government as I defined it, right?
Pretty much. I don't the anything beyond 100 years ago. Nobody. There's like most of it's made up stories. Most of it is made up stories. Like all of the
I know, but I just said that I thought if we're going to accept legislative bodies, and believe me, I'm anti-government in the sense that I think government always skews evil.
Yeah.
And what I was saying about Bastiat saying, when you take the money from the people, they are, and Ayn Rand had said, wealth is a representation of past labor. So the person that could organize the labor better may have gotten richer, but he enriched others that worked under the system. So you could, have the factory, you produce the product, you have factory workers. When you do this, I think the history of the world would show that free markets, and this, capitalism is a Marxist term. It was coined by a Marxist to be an ism against collectivism. But in a free market, people trade to mutual satisfaction. I have milk on my farm. You have eggs. We trade, whatever. We produce things. We freely trade. Everyone benefits. That's a great system. When the government comes in and takes that production away because they say we know better and we're going to do better things for the people, behind all of these programs tend to be somebody getting rich at the expense of everyone else. Are you familiar with Thomas Sowell?
No, I am not.
All right. Thomas Sowell is 94 this year. He's a black gentleman who is kind of radically libertarian, probably in his views. And he said he grew up a Marxist. He grew up a Marxist because he grew up in Harlem. And he said he looked at the wealth inequality and said, got to be a problem here. How can there be this big, beautiful tower, then the projects over here? And he was on an interview with the guy, and he said, what changed you to free markets? You went to the University of Chicago and you studied under Milton Friedman. Did that do it? He goes, no. He goes, what was? He goes, working for the government. He goes, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm a young intern. He went to Harvard University in his undergrad. He goes, I'm at the Harvard and I'm doing an internship in DC, and I do a deep dive study on the minimum wage. And I'm in a department where they basically administer the minimum wage, oversee it. And I see all kind of inefficiencies. I see young kids being driven out of career or job opportunities because of this artificial wage inflation. So I go to one of my superiors. He goes, this is what changed him. I go to one of my superiors and he goes, hey, you know, this whole thing doesn't work. And the guy goes, we all know that. Shut up. This is how we make a living. We all get wages. We all get paid because of this program. We don't give a rat's ass if it works. We don't care if it helps the wage earner. It really enriches us. And he went, oh, I get it. It's another kind of like business. So you look at Eisenhower's 1961 farewell address, beware the military industrial complex. There are people that make money off of war. Now, if you ask me, do they lie to the American people and say there's a boogeyman, we need to go invade?
We finance both sides of wars, right? Ford financed both sides of the war.
Well, we sometimes do have, seems like history-wise, we finance people that 10 years later are pointing the same weapons back at us.
We're financing both sides of the war.
We do that too.
Wars are for depopulation. They want to keep the population down because if we get it up to a significant number, and it's nowhere near 8 billion, it's like 2 billion, right? The world population is a complete and total lie. There's plenty of videos breaking that down, showing how 8 billion is actually impossible, with what they report. But again, all of this is about control. And now you asked who are they? They're not elected officials. It's the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Club of Rome, Bilderberg Group, and United Nations. These are the puppets that are being ruled by we don't know who. I think that the rulers of this world are beyond and lands that we're unaware of, lands beyond 60 degrees south that we're not allowed to explore, that we're not allowed to see. It's weird how all of our elected officials, when they're newly elected, go to Antarctica, disappear for 3 days, come back, never say what they did. I think they're getting their marching orders from the real rulers of this world. There's whistleblowers coming out of Antarctica, military whistleblowers that says there's cities of millions of people in Antarctica. Another one said they went to this secret base called Tigo, and it's mining tons of precious metals, gold and silver, but not sure if it's actual silver or platinum or whatever it was, but it's a secret base in Antarctica mining enough gold to wreck the markets. Okay, wreck them. But we don't know about any of this, right? Because it's all off limits. If you had a pet tiger, how big's your yard? How big's your yard? Is it acre, half acre, quarter acre?
No, I'm in a townhouse.
Okay, so you're going to quarter acre, you got a fence, you put a tiger back there, is he going to be pissed off? Hell yeah. Put him in an acre, he's still going to be pissed. He's going to be walking around that fence every day. Put him in 500 acres, he'll hit the fence, he'll probably turn around and just go back and do his thing. Put a human in 5 million acres, as soon as he sees a fence, he wants to go to the other side. So they put us in this ball, which doesn't have any fences. But the truth is, the world is way bigger, right? And we don't know. So if you take a look at this is the world. Whoops, I didn't transition here. Excuse me. So this is the flat Earth. This is 60 degrees south, just to be approximate, and no one's allowed to independently explore. What's out here? What is out here? What is this? Large bodies of water need to be contained. You can't have a bathtub without the side of the bathtub. You can't have a lake without the side of the lake. You can't have an ocean without the sides of the ocean. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. But the question is, what's out here? Are there more lands out here? Are there other cities, people?
Well, that all accepts the fact that your little map here and what you're showing is in fact legitimate.
Well,
anybody listening is going to ask this question. All right, what about all the photographs from space? You had photographs from space.
Let's do that.
So you're going to say what?
Well, so here's the thing. If let's look, and you tell me. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to tell you what to think. This is a new photograph of Earth that they just gave us, and we take the old photograph. What happened to this lump? What is that? What is that lump there? That's the new one. This is the old one. This is the new one, the old one. What is that lump? All right, let's just say something happened. The lens was screwed up, but that's what they just gave us. That's what they just gave us.
I mean, I'm not in control of that photograph.
I know, but that just came from.
And I don't know that you're in control.
It's new last week.
And you're telling me, that's
Here's the thing, Jack. I'm going to go over some things right now, and I don't want you to believe anything. I want you to verify everything I'm telling you. And for your listeners, if you think this is crazy, I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. I'll tell you how to get it at the end of the show. Okay, so this is the famous shot from the moon, right? Can't really see any land. Weird, but do you think that could be faked? Because I could fake it. I can wait. What am I looking at here?
Do I think that a photograph of the Earth could be faked? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look.
Do I think it could be faked? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I think it could be legitimate? Yeah, I do think it could be legitimate.
Yeah, it could be. But when you actually take a look at these things, right? Mm-hmm. So if we look at here, I'll just show you both of these. So here's America, Florida, Mexico, right? So here's the globe. So we'll line it up with that area. So you have to believe that all of this land, all of this is on the other side of this ball. Doesn't make any sense. You can't figure it out because it doesn't make any sense. But when we look at the other side of the ball, we got Africa here. So we'll put Africa here. All of this.
Well, I have a football here. I have a football, which is not exactly the same thing, but you would agree that a football as constructed has 4 equal panels, right?
I'm talking about you get a basket.
No. I mean, I know, but it's round here in the center. I just grabbed one because I had one here. So you would agree that there are 4 equal panels to the football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I put it up here like this, and I show you that side of the panel, which is rounded, and I said, look at that. 3/4 of the football is not visible. Would you agree with that? You're looking at my camera here.
Yes, there's some loss in the side. I can see a little bit of that. I can see past that seam.
All right. So would you agree that 25% that represents this panel, maybe 30% of the ball is visible?
No, if you get a basketball and hold it up, I could see 45% of the basketball. The rest is going to be lost in that mirage.
I only used the football because it was beside me, but you would agree that the football that I just showed you does have a complete roundness in the center.
So you do lose a little bit of where you can't resolve what's parallel with your vision. But here, just look carefully here. Here's the United States. When did the United States take up that much of the earth?
Well, I think what you're seeing there's Mexico, Canada, and the United States.
No. Here's the United States. Here's Florida, right? You got a little bit of Canada up here, a little bit.
Right.
Okay. But, okay. So now let's put this. Here's a world map.
Wait a minute. I think that actually back up one. That actually sort of would prove, because of the curvature of the earth up, would absolutely support that it's a round earth or a globe, because it's not.
Jack, let me make my point.
Make your point. Go.
Okay. So all of this land, they say that these are the sizes of all the continents. If we put that right,
no, they don't. In the flat maps like that, they have to take into consideration there's distortion along the edges.
They're showing us this is what they say the actual size is. Okay.
I've never seen the map where
but if you look at that, there's all types of projections. Okay. But here's the United States. Here it is. It's lined up. You have to believe that all of this is on the other side of the ball. All of it. That if I can't get you past that, all right.
Think about this. If I take a basketball, as you said,
and
I can cover it with leather, like a basketball is. Oh. If I were to take that leather out and try to flatten it, are you going to tell me I can keep all of it adjoined and lay it down flat? The leather cover of a basketball, I can do that.
I don't understand what that has to do with what I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying is that representation, any flat representation of the earth, has to have some type of cuts in it to have a spread out, to have it flat.
I'm not spreading the earth out. I'm looking at I get it. That projection. You don't like that? Let's look at this. Okay. These are 9 photos of Earth. They're all completely different. They're all by NASA. So that means 8 of them, at least, are fake.
Wait a minute. When you say completely different, taken at different points on the earth, taken at different times, taken on the different light sources, taken with different lenses. Okay.
Yeah, when you look at
So
the
they're
land
different.
masses, they're all different. How about this? Let's try this. So here we got that the original picture, and we can measure. We can actually measure on Earth across Mexico and Baja. It's 934 miles. Would you agree with that if you measured it? If you went and verified it, right?
There would be a slight curvature of the Earth that came into that, but yes,
934 miles. Okay, so they tell us that the diameter of the Earth is 7,917 miles. So in between these two red lines, straight line, not a curved line.
Wait, so you're talking about going under the Earth?
I'm talking a straight line. If you the diameter of the circle, if you draw a line from one point on the equator through the center of the Earth to the other side of the Earth.
All right, this gets back. I wish this was a basketball, but it gets back to the same problem. If I take a professional football like this has a 21-inch diameter, so we could imagine this is going to be about a quarter in this fat part, center part of the ball, about a quarter of the 21 inches.
Not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
But when you're talking
That's not
about
what I'm talking about. You're talking about curvature. I'm talking about the diameter.
When you say, I'm asking, if you're saying 934 miles, are you not talking about if it were from this point to this point on the football?
No.
You're talking about if I laid a string and got a measurement, if I put that string and then flattened out the string, what is the distance from this point to this point? Is that what you're agreeing?
I'm saying it.
Or are you saying 934 miles through the football to the other point?
Through the football to the other point.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
you're not talking about across the landmass.
Hold on. I am talking about across the landmass here.
Well, then you can't be talking about that in through in a straight line.
The amount of curvature here is minimal, but we're gonna show you how ridiculous it is.
Okay.
7,917 miles between these 2 points. So I should be able to fit 8.5 of these segments in between these points, and I could barely get 3. Okay, 3.5. No, 3, right? So 3.5. But it shows you that they're falsifying this. This is incorrect. There's nothing hidden on the size. It's the diameter, according to NASA. It's almost 8,000 miles. We should be able to fit 3.5 of these across here, and you need 8.5 to fit. No, you should be able to fit 8.5. You can only fit 3.5. Again, you have to.
You are doing a measurement on one half the Earth along a curvature on one side of the Earth.
So you're saying the little bit of curvature that's here is going to account for an extra 5.5 of those segments.
If you
make it 5.5, it's going to triple the length.
How do we figure what is the circumference of a circle? Is it not a calculation based upon the diameter? I'm sorry, the radius of the ball or the circle?
Yeah, it's the radius.
And it's a constant, right? Okay.
So they say that the Earth is 900 miles around.
All right, based on this 934 miles, what do you think that would make the overall circumference of that circle?
Oh, that circle? I can't even. I don't. You know, I don't know. I haven't calculated.
Would you accept that the Earth is about 25,000 miles around? Roughly?
Well, no, that's what they say.
Okay, if they say that, what would that make the radius or the diameter?
So it would be 6, and it would be 7 times 934, so like 6,000 miles. 6,000 miles. 934 times 7. Right?
934.
So 64,000 miles. Okay. No, 6,400 miles. That would be the circumference of the Earth if we took these and put them all the way around the Earth, because 3.5 goes across. So let's make it 4. Let's make it 8 because we're accounting for curvature, which makes it longer. So 8 times 9 is 7,200, 7,300, 7,500 miles.
So you're talking about if you were to completely cover the Earth, and from that point, the 2 points you have on the map, if you continued around that circle, it would be 6,000 miles. Is that what you're saying? If the Earth was a globe, if the Earth
was a globe, and we took these segments and wrapped all the way around at this ratio, it would be like 7,000 miles around the Earth, which is not correct.
And that disproves the globe. That makes the world flat.
Well, no, that disproves that picture. It means that NASA's lying. So where do we get our globe from? Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jack. And do you know the radius of the Earth?
The radius of the Earth, based upon that, would probably be in the 4,000, 3,500 to 4,000 range.
Very good. It's 3,009. So it's just under 4,000. Most people don't even know that. Do you know the orbital speed of the Earth?
The orbital speed, it would have to be turning at roughly 1,000 miles per hour to make the day.
That's
and
the
it has
rotational speed, not the
right.
The
And then 365 and a quarter days to make it around to the same point in the orbit around the sun.
Right.
That's why we have a leap year.
Yeah. So do you know what speed that is? How many miles per hour is the Earth traveling around the sun?
You're talking about whatever the distance of its orbital path.
Yeah.
How fast would that have to be? That's a great question because I know that it could be figured out because you're talking about 93 million miles.
So you don't know it is my point.
I don't know it, but no, okay. I think I could figure it out. 93 million miles from the Earth to the sun, and it's taking this path and it's staying on that constant. So it would be that distance and taking 365 and a quarter days. But okay, tell me, Dave, what is the speed?
Its average speed is 66,600 miles per hour. So you know that all of the planets
66,600
miles per hour.
Okay.
So you got the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. That's curved. That's not a straight line. A curved trajectory. And when something curves, you feel the motion because it's acceleration. If you're going in a car 100 miles an hour, you had a dinner plate filled with water, no problem. That car takes the slightest turn, the water is going to leave the plate. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're orbiting around at 66,600 miles an hour. All of the planets stay on the same plane, even though we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour.
Okay.
Never to return to where we were before, traveling almost 4.5 billion miles every year. Never to come back to where we were. But some reason the stars never change. They're always in the exact same place. There's no parallax. This is going on. This is where you have to believe you live, flying through a natural law-defying vacuum, because you can't have air adjacent to a vacuum without a container. And you could say gravity, but we can disprove that. So this is going on. Now, people see this and they're like, well, I don't get it. Let me show you this. This is called the hypersonic sled track. It's NASA's rocket sled. It's going to go by a Mach 8.6. Ready? Watch it. Can't even see it, right? Could you fathom what twice that speed is? Because you have to believe that you live on a lumpy rock surrounded by curved water that no one's ever measured the curve, surrounded by high pressure air adjacent to a vacuum that's orbiting the sun 10 times faster than that and chasing the sun 100 times faster than that. But when you go out into nature, you see stuff like this. Right? Did you see the earthquake in Thailand the other day?
I didn't.
It's crazy. It's crazy. A little shake of the earth and pools, the lakes jump out of their beds, right? We're whirling, twirling, and swirling, but we have lakes and ponds that look just like this. Hey, everybody, quick message that I'd like to share with all of you. Our lives are filled with toxins in our air, food, and even in the information we're taught. Avoiding them all is impossible, but helping your body detox doesn't have to be complicated. That's where Masterpiece comes in. Just 5 drops under your tongue twice a day, and that's it. Super easy, super simple, and it doesn't even taste bad. I've tried countless supplements, and while generally I'm pretty healthy, I didn't really feel much of an effect. But with Masterpiece, it delivered noticeable benefits. Check out the podcast I did with Terry from Masterpiece, linked below this video, or you can find links directly to Masterpiece on my website, flatearthdave.com, or in the shopping section on the app. The key to health is to detoxify. Now back to the show.
And that's because the gravitational pull would be from the center of the Earth and it's pulling the water down.
Yeah, but we're moving and we're curving. So if I had a bowl of water in a car and the car takes a turn, what's going to happen to that water? The Earth, all of the motions of the Earth are curving.
Okay, so it's not happening, therefore the Earth is flat.
No, it's another piece of evidence. So
I still, again, I kind of want to go back. Look, I've listened to people, I've listened to you, etc. I see things like when there is an eclipse of the moon by the Earth's surface across the moon, I see the crescent on the side of the moon,
Yeah.
which would imply that the Earth
Incorrect.
is all right. So you're going to say incorrect. All right. So I can just tell you, we're going to go round and round and round probably in this discussion. You're not convincing me of
Well,
anything.
here's the thing.
I enjoy your passion.
Yeah, no
But I
problem.
enjoy your passion, but I do believe that as we got into the part of the discussion, maybe I'd rather get into,
Yeah.
this is based upon a worldview you have. It's somewhat a
No,
religion.
this is based. No, absolutely. Yours is the heliocentric religion because you don't have any proof. Now you say, well, the shadow of the Earth on the moon. Well, for one,
No. What I'm saying is,
I got to be able to finish a point.
No. I got to make this point.
Okay.
I can believe that the Earth is a globe based upon pictures of the moon and everything like that. I can believe that.
Which pictures?
I think it's the best evidence. Okay.
Wow, that's your best evidence.
And then you went to, in your defense of flat Earth, you're showing me the Washington Memorial that became the Lincoln Memorial that all was built before Lincoln.
Because I had a flaw in the name of it that you're going to use that against me.
No. And then
you are. You've done it 3 times already.
What I'm saying, but what I'm saying is when you bring up the picture, I'm like, when was it taken? Sometime, I'm not really sure, but I do know that it was here before Lincoln.
And I can refer you to the resources that
I'm just saying, though,
all that information. Here's the thing. Belief is the enemy of knowing. You can believe whatever you want. It takes no effort. Where do I live?
Where do you live?
Yeah, where do I live?
I know what you told me.
Okay, so you believe it or you know it? Because I'm making a point.
I only know what you tell me.
So you don't know it. You believe it. You believe it because you're like, hey, why would he lie? I believe it. He sounds.
I don't really have. Okay, this is a thing that. No. Hear me out on it. This is the thing that I have argued.
Any extra.
Listen.
To believe.
Everybody thinks they're right. I had this discussion before with people, and they go, no. I found myself to be wrong. I'm like, okay, then if the facts change, you'd be stupid to continue to hold a view that you knew to be wrong. So everybody believes they're right, or they would admit they don't have enough information. So if I could say to you, you're arguing flat, I believe globe, okay, whatever. What I'm saying is you trotted out a lot of positions based upon world dominance of a few, somebody that's trying to orchestrate what we believe for some particular purpose. Is that not true?
What was the question?
What I'm saying is, in this argument over, or your presentation of the facts that would lead one to believe or should believe or know that the Earth is flat, not a globe, you're saying the globe types, the global religion or the religion of the globe is doing this for some sense of a mind control because it's greater forces that corrupt the public education system, corrupt the government, corrupt the corrupt world leaders. Some may know the Earth is really flat, some may not. But it's all about, as you showed in the diagrams of these power structures, this is how we as people are held down.
I can only speculate on why. I mean, the evidence is pretty clear, but I can prove that we don't live on a globe, right? On a globe, if we live on a globe, there has to be curvature, correct?
But what I'm asking you is, if we lived on a globe, or we lived on flat, or we lived on some kind of like half dome shape, whatever, what difference would that make unless there's something else going on? And that's why I'm asking you is the big why.
Well, I can only speculate, but I can prove.
But you speculate.
If you walk into a room and there's 20 dead bodies and there's axes over there and they've all been killed with an axe, do you not believe that they're dead because you don't know the motive?
What you just said was, all right, let's go back through that. 20 dead bodies. You said they were axes. And then you said, I know that they were killed by axes.
Well, no, you walk into a room, all of their heads are split open, and there's an axe in their head. Okay. I'm just being graphic.
Or there's an axe in their head.
Yeah. Okay. So there's 20 dead bodies.
Okay. And all of them have an axe.
Do you say, I don't believe they're dead? Because I don't know the motive. If you say, I can't fathom why anybody would do this, therefore the evidence can't be right.
If I came up upon dead bodies, now, well, here's another thing. They could have been poisoned dead, and then somebody dropped an axe into their head, and it wasn't even the cause of death. I don't know anything other
But
than
they're
they're
dead.
dead. Right. All I know is that they're dead.
Okay. Well, all I know is that the Earth doesn't have any curvature.
Okay.
So I can prove that there's no curvature. Show me curvature. Right.
All right. And then I'd say, then what?
So
that's my whole. And then what?
And then when you wake up to flat Earth, you take your power back. You unplug from the matrix.
That's what I'm saying. So you're saying that you've made a study, an observation, which has led to a belief or a truth or whatever you want to call it. And therefore you were freed up to see the bigger picture. Fair?
Sure.
Okay. Then the bigger picture is your motivating force.
No. My motivating force is to help people free themselves from the slavery of the globe. The globe.
All right. Let me ask you this. Could you and I not possibly 137% agree on a lot of political matters, function of government, and the rest? And I believe that the Earth is a globe and you believe the Earth is flat. Could we not agree?
We could agree on a lot of things. I don't know how much we'd agree on government stuff, but that's okay. There are.
You don't think we already have?
Some.
You disagree with anything I said?
I don't believe that governments are here at all for our good. I think they're all safe.
Did I say they were?
Okay. All right. So
all I said was what could be a potential legitimate function of collective force. That's what I said. And what did I also say? Governments tend to go evil.
I got you. I'm with you. Let me run through.
And what part of that do you disagree with?
I don't disagree.
All right. Then we come to the same conclusion as it relates to government. Fair?
Sure.
Okay. But yet the shape of the Earth, what I'm saying is you're saying that the lie of the shape of the Earth is part of what's used to control minds and not come to the conclusions you and I both come to when it comes to the function of government.
It's a way to keep you in the slave system, cooperating.
Am I in the slave system?
Yeah.
Am I in the? So I'm in the slave system because of the shape of the Earth. Yet, what percent of people do you know that have the political views I do about the function of government?
Basically, everyone I know has more extreme views than you.
Well, yeah, the people you know, because you're running around with people that think the Earth is flat. I'm asking how many people generally you think are out there that really think that when we vote Republican, Democrat, it makes a world of difference.
There, we can agree on that. That's for sure.
Okay, and I know because you and I would probably agree. The way you get there is different. That's it. The way we get there. Go ahead.
Let's just before we run out of time.
Yes, sir.
I want to show you one thing. It could take 30 seconds.
Okay.
Maybe a minute. And then I'd like you to show me something. Okay. So here we have, large bodies of water at rest lie flat. When it's cold, they freeze flat. So we're on the ice. We got our camera 6 inches off the ice. And we put these lights out here at 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles away. Now, it doesn't seem like far, but according to the globe math, and don't believe me, you have to verify all of this, these things should be, and I used magical refraction because globers like to say, oh, the reason you can see that is because it's refracting up. So I added 50% refraction, which is ridiculous, but I added it just to give the globe the advantage. And so I took off 50%, 30 feet, 22 feet, 15 and 9 feet. They should be behind a physical curve. So they should be like my mouth is behind this ball. You should not be able to see these lights, but we can see them. So you have two options. One, Earth is flat. The camera is just looking at these lights across the flat ice at 6 inches across. Or Earth is a globe, and on a globe would require the horizon to be less than a mile away. And these things are refracting up different amounts to stop magically at the tangent of this camera to a ball. You have to pick one of these.
I don't believe that that's a perfect representation on the lower half. That's a perfect representation.
No, it's not. No. It's absolutely.
That would make the Earth about
to stop it. Just stop, Jack. This is just a not to scale.
That's very important.
I can't show you a scale size of the Earth with 8 feet of refraction.
But what you're using to show the
I'm showing you the idea.
All right.
The idea is the camera is seeing a horizon and these things are refracting up that amount. You have to believe that to believe your globe religion.
I don't think that your curvature here would any way represent when you've got a curvature that might make up a circle with a diameter of 30 inches. And you're talking about An Earth of
I'm
the
just
size.
showing you an illustration of the math that was required by your globe with a 24,901 mile circumference.
All right, and we accept it. And then what? And then the
Yeah, then what?
Bilderbergers are lying to us. Okay, so then what? The public education system screwed up, and then what?
Absolutely, everything. It all
All
has to
right, so
shut
it's
down.
all
It all
screwed
has
up.
to shut down.
And what you're saying is the Earth. Look, I wrote my master's thesis, like I said, on the Kennedy assassination, and I have a friend, and they're like, you got to talk to my friend, and they're
Who killed Kennedy?
Oswald, and then they're telling me that Jack Ruby was, this person was saying Jack Ruby was literally Joe Biden's brother. And I said, you realize that Jack Ruby was born in 1911? And the person's like, well, that's what they're telling you. I'm like, okay, honey, I got you. We're going to go down a road of, first of all, they said Biden was
Didn't
actually
they just
Oswald.
admit that the CIA killed him?
I think the CIA very well knew about Oswald. I think there's any question with the stuff that's come out with Angleton. I think they absolutely knew. The question is, did they put him up to it? The reason I've always struggled with the conspiracies as to the shooting is if that person misses with that rifle, if this is just a random act, and Oswald leaves $174 with his wife, his wedding band. It seemed like he went to her and said, come back to me, baby. She said no. Then he goes out and does this with what people think is an inferior rifle. It was a military grade rifle from 1940, World War II. It's an Italian bolt action rifle. But would you really put a person at 51 yards and 88 yards at the headshot to take these shots to kill the president? Because after the first shot, if Jackie pulls him down, he maybe doesn't die. And then you would think Jack Kennedy would have really had a kick in the ass to maybe go find out why somebody's trying to kill him. So my point is, it seems like to me, if you really had a group that wanted Kennedy dead, you shoot him at the airport. You get him off the plane, somebody in the crowd pulls up a firearm, and they shoot him point blank, knowing whoever that person is sacrificing themselves to the criminal justice system. But Oswald, it seems to me a lot of randomness in it, including the rifle he used. And I think all those things align with being true. But if you're asking me, was he known by the CIA? Absolutely. Was he being trailed? Absolutely. Do I think that he could have been mind controlled into it? Very likely. I mean, it's all this thing is available. But when people break down the assassination of, there's 14 shooters at 37 locations, they shot from the grain pipe. It's all bullshit. It's not true. Oswald did it. Why Oswald did it, I'm open to.
All right. So thanks for that information. What an education. Thank you for that.
But I say that to say people think that what this person was saying, and God bless her, it's all a conspiracy. And now she's spouting off that the Bidens were literally in control. Oswald is Joe Biden. So after Oswald killed Kennedy, they made him a political figure and he went on to be president. And she's saying she believes a lot of the same things, sort of conspiratorial, who controls the world. And when she said, and you know who Ruby is? I'm like, who? It's Biden's brother. I'm like, you realize Ruby was born in 1911? Well, that's what they tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that died in 1967 that shot Oswald when he was 52, that wasn't Jacob Rubenstein from Chicago. I don't know, because everybody else is to control the evidence. If Ruby is Santa Claus, I don't know.
I got it. Okay. It was just a rhetorical question. Thanks for the long answer. Don't believe anything I say. Find out what your best proof for the globe is. I have an app. You don't have to get the app, though. You go to my website. There's tons of free stuff. But if you hit the frequently asked questions, all of the frequently asked questions, eclipses, I highly advise you to check that out. Where does the sun go? All sorts of stuff. FlatEarthDave.com. And here's how you win the 3 Bitcoins. You can either get the app every day, watch the daily video for 2 weeks, and then give me 1 globe proof. Or on my website, you'll see a picture of me and it says Crash Course. Click that, watch the first 5 videos. After we watch those 5 videos, send me 1 globe proof and you win 3 Bitcoins. That's like almost 300 grand.
Okay, Dave, last thing I want to say on, and then I'll talk about my show here, but let me ask you this. What do you hope to see happen?
What I hope to see happen is humanity to wake up to their true divinity and stop bowing down to government. Government is govern, is to control, and ment is the mind. They're literally controlling you and taking away your God-given free will and making you believe in Narnia, which literally depowers you and stops you living to your full potential. right? If you believe you live on a globe, you are living in fear, you're living in shortage, you're living in lack, you're living in a very limited world, and you won't be able to take advantage of the true nature of this world and your mind.
Do you see a world in which, or let me ask, well, I'll ask this too because I haven't asked it yet. What percentage of people in the world do you think believe the Earth is flat?
Well, that's a great question because it is growing rapidly. If we take a look at the world population here, now my app is only people that know about me and have my app. This is probably less than 1% of the people that have my app that know the Earth is flat. Way less than 1%, a small fraction. So it's growing. There's I'd say
it's growing.
About 7 years ago.
Okay.
7 years. Here's the answer. 7 years ago in Brazil, they took a survey, flat, round, don't know, and 11 million people said flat.
I'm sorry, how many?
11 million.
Okay.
In Brazil.
And the population of?
I forget the population, but it was a significant percentage of the population, and that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And so it's only growing since then. And there's more and more people waking up to this every day. You'll see there's lots of influencers out there, Stu Peters, Peggy Hall, even Alex Jones doesn't want to admit it, but he knows. And not that I trust him or anything like that. Don't take that away. And there's lots, I spoke.
Why would you disavow Alex Jones?
Well, because he does a lot of weird stuff. I like him.
Does he?
Oh yeah. Come on.
He does. Man, I can't believe you're throwing darts at Alex Jones.
I'm not.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
given the position you're taking in the kind of the standard world that we live in.
Go watch my show where I was on Alex Jones. Go watch that.
I would love to.
Yeah, go watch that. You can find any of my videos just on here. Just use the search button, type in InfoWars Alex Jones. I was
okay. I bet that was fun. Yeah, I bet that was fun.
It was painful, but behind the scenes, Alex knows the Earth is flat, but he can't admit it on the air.
Now, were you in the studio? Like we all
studio? Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Me and Eddie Bravo were on.
Okay,
it's actually his highest live viewed segment ever, and this was just last year.
Good for you. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, he's probably a pretty nice guy, right?
He is. He's a nice guy, but he's Alex. He's no different than he is on stage.
I saw him in 2013. I went down for the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy thing, and he was down there and got arrested because they boxed the whole area in Dealey Plaza. You couldn't get in unless, and he got out there and screamed and hollered and got arrested. So I saw him like 27 feet away, and I was like, oh, that's actually him. I
spoke at a conference in Acapulco for the last 2 years, and with over 50 speakers. And when I went there, I figured, okay, maybe 20% of them know the Earth is flat. 49 of the 50 speakers knew the Earth was flat. So that was amazing, all right? And they just don't speak about it, but they know. If you're into the health freedom movement, I'm going to say it this way, all of them except one, that way I'm not outing anybody, are flat earthers, all of them, right? So these are smart people. There's a lot of smart people. People have been afraid to talk about it, but now they're coming out. They're coming out. And the thing is, Google is just going to feed you nonsense. So I encourage people, go to flatearthdave.com, challenge everything that I've told you.
Well, one other thing I was kind of thinking about that I wanted to ask you, and it just came to me here towards the end. Do you think there are what we would call other planets?
So if we had time.
Well, if I could just ask you, do you think there's other planets? I know I'm kind of getting you with the time constraint here, but do you, if you say it's too complicated a question, I'll move on.
No, I'd like to give you an answer, and I'll take a couple extra minutes if you allow me to.
Sure, go,
to fully answer it. So, got to give me a second here to pull it up. So you can go on ship tracking sites and find all the cargo ships from all around the Earth, right? You're aware of that.
This is an answer to a question of
this is an answer. It's going to take 3 minutes if I'm
not. All right.
Okay,
go for it.
So you go to the ship tracking site, and you can see all these ships. And we saw a ship, an active ship, way inside here. And if we look at it, it's 730 miles from the shore, right? We saw another one, zooming out a little bit, that was 905 miles from the closest port. How does a ship get 905 miles?
And how does that answer the question of whether planets exist?
I said it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Maybe
All right.
hit the mute button.
All
Okay.
right. All right.
So I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you.
Help me out.
Right. So this is a map that was found in a Buddhist temple. It was published in a Hawaiian newspaper in 1907, I think, and it showed all of these other continents out here. So here we are, South America, right, Africa, and it showed all of these continents out there. So just keep that in mind for a minute, okay? So we looked at this ship, and normally you could find all information about the ship, but that ship that was 900 miles in said it was from the nation of Kiribati and that it was 850 meters long and 80 meters wide. That's a gigantic ship. How does it get in the middle of Antarctica? And what the hell is Kiribati? So if we look where Kiribati is on Google Earth, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a friggin' sandbar. I had to put a pin on it to see it. And America, China, Vietnam, they all give them billions of dollars saying it's a very important trade route, right? Kiribati, look at the spelling. Look real carefully right here. So we started making videos about this, and it started going super viral, right? So I'm going to skip over some stuff here just for the lack of time. And we found out that they all of a sudden changed the name of Kiribati. You search Kiribati, it brings you to this island, right? Which is on the other side of the world. You can no longer search Kiribati. And
all right, what I was going to ask you is, do you think the other planets are round?
You got to hear it because you have to understand what planets are. Okay. So, and they changed it to Karamati. That's weird. Right. So
who's they?
This is whoever's in charge of Google. Google changed it. Okay.
Whoever's in charge of Google changes the names of places around the earth.
They changed the name. Right.
Okay. All right. They is Google. Okay.
Yeah. So whoever changes it. Right. So why are there 19 time zones here, 24 time zones in the tropics, and 32 in the south? That only makes sense on a flat Earth. We don't need to get into the whole thing. But if you think about how the Earth is set up, if we go back to that map, where is it? Where's the map? Here it is. If we go back to this map, they took this map, they wrapped it around a ball, so all of this becomes Antarctica at the bottom of the ball. So you get this piece of paper, you wrap it around a basketball, all of this becomes at the bottom of the ball, and no one's allowed to explore there. So when we look, we say, well, if a ship was going out here, it would look like it's in the middle of Antarctica on Google Earth. So here are other pieces of the plane or planets, other lands across the flat Earth. This is where I believe we get lots of stuff from. Technology, maybe our computer chips are coming in there. Maybe they're trading tuna fish. Maybe they're trading children. I don't know. But you never even heard of Kiribati. You never even heard of this map. You have no other explanation of how a ship can end up in the middle of Antarctica. Why ships from Kiribati that are all weird ships that are there.
All right, I apologize for asking the question. I'll move on.
All right.
Do you think there's such thing as a moon? The moon.
The moon that we see, I don't believe it's a physical object.
You don't think it's a physical object? What is it?
I don't know. How would I know?
Do you think it represents, just this question, do you think it represents in its fullest form of however it's being lit or lighted, do you think in its fullest form it would appear to a human on Earth as being round?
It sure looks round.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. Okay.
We don't know how big it is or how far it is. But if you ever looked at the craters on the moon, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a moon map, and we look here. This actually matches the Earth map when you really look at it. And so it could be a reflection. What is this other land over here? What is all of this? Again, this is a deeper conversation that takes time.
Right, I got you.
This is the Prague clock. It's the same thing as the moon map, right?
Right.
It's the oldest clock in the world. So again, these are things that they don't teach you in school. It's things that you'd have to take the time and look. Planets, I don't believe that there's outer space, so I don't believe that there's physical rocks floating in space, falling around the Earth, falling around the sun. As a matter of fact, all of the planets, or they used to be called wandering stars, they all circle Polaris. You can't explain that in the heliocentric model.
Okay. Dave, it has been wonderful to meet you, and I mean that. I think you're a really nice guy. Really, I love you the way that you're searching for the truth. I really, really, really do. And again, I think you and I, when it comes to the physical world that we know, we're probably in far more agreement than you can imagine. Now, the question, well, no, I mean, the physical world, bad, that was right. Apologies. What I mean is kind of the relationships of one-to-one between people and how we exist together and whatever government is, how it should be instituted, if at all, or how these things work together. I think we'd probably be in far more agreement than we would be in disagreement. As to this issue, again, I don't base political philosophy, and I'm going to give you this. I don't base political philosophy or the relationship of people together, however we define that political philosophy, based upon the shape of the earth. But I absolutely see that if what you're saying is they lie to you, they lie to us in the most basic of aspects of our existence, they'll lie about everything else. I get that. My only point was, I think you and I could come to the same conclusions. There may be kind of a boogeyman or kind of a bad guy or kind of just a bad existence. It may even be satanic, as you mentioned. You know, there is a creator, there is a divine, there is the opposite to that, and the opposite of that is the darkness and evil. And if they keep doing the darkness, brother, I'm all over that with you, Jack, for sure.
Last thing about the pictures, this is from the ISS just recently. What's this seam? Are they wrapping a fake image around a sphere? Right? This has happened more than once. We get this seam. There's no explanation other than this is fake. This is from the ISS. Now, don't believe me. You'd have to see it yourself from the ISS channel. Okay. But again, space is fake. No one goes up in rockets. No one's going to the moon because the moon isn't a place to go. The moon is a light that controls women's menstrual cycles. It's not a rock floating around. We don't know anything about any of the luminaries other than that they're lights. There you go. FlatEarthDave.com. Don't believe anything I say. Research everything. Win 3 Bitcoins, 1 globe proof. Thanks, Jack.
Dave, thank you for being on. God bless you, sir. And the God that I think we probably both love, right? God bless you. Keep the faith. Do your thing, man. I appreciate it. This has been more to consider. Really enjoyed having Flat Earth Dave on. Go to his sites, as he's mentioned, and make up your own mind on this. Make your own decisions. God bless all. Thanks.
See ya.
Peace.
Hey, everyone. If you enjoyed this interview, please help support my work and help wake up others by referring or gifting the app to at least one person today. By doing that, you're going to help wake people up and help me to continue doing other interviews like this. With the censorship out there that's going on, it's very difficult to find relevant information, and the app, as you know, brings people to the truthful information of our world. So help support my work, help support your efforts in waking up friends, family, and strangers. Gift them the app or just recommend the app, and let's make 2025 the year Flat Earth breaks free. Check the links below for information on how to gift the app or just refer the app to others, and use your referral code to earn Dome cryptocurrency and a free subscription. Thanks.